Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. And in boxing, you can find out real quick that you don't play boxing. Now, Jake Paul is a boxer. I don't care what anybody says. He's a boxer. He's been in here fighting for a while at the highest level with the best trainers. And when I say the highest level, I'm talking about his commitment. Of course, he's not on the level of Usyk and AJ and those guys, and we saw that last night. But he's been committed to the highest level of just trying to fast track himself to get himself in position to shock the boxing world in a big fight against a big name, which is something that he tried last night. Now, first watching the fight, a lot of us felt like this shit was staged because you're watching like Anthony Joshua should blast him up out of there in the first round. And that didn't happen, and we're like, okay, here we go. Then you see there are certain points in the fight, looks like Anthony Joshua's. Jake Paul is going to his left, Joshua's throwing his right hand. I mean, that's boxing 101 shit. If I'm sitting to cut the ring off and you're going to your right, I mean, he was going to his left, Jake Paul was going to his right, I'm throwing my left hook, to block those escape routes. So Jake Paul's going to his right, AJ's throwing his right hand. And I'm like, what? Why would you throw your right hand when the man's going to his right? That's crazy to me. But anyway, we saw what happened there as the fight progressed. AJ made a decision. It's like, let me get him out of here. And I'm gonna say this: some people making fun of Jake Paul, but those with a little bit of intelligence, they're giving him credit. I hear these guys saying, this was nothing. He ran last night. He needs to go to WWE. This is where I can understand, and y'all may be shocked to hear me say this. I can understand where someone like a Clarissa Shields could just want to cuss and carry on with these trolls. Because that's ridiculous for someone to say Jake Paul should go to the WWE. Especially when most people would never do anything remotely close to what Jake Paul did last night. Most people won't even get up and do an impromptu speech. That's the number one fear, is public speaking. Now, could you imagine getting in an effing boxing ring with someone who more than likely, you ain't going to be able to beat them? Do it in front of the world with all these people who are there to criticize and ridicule you. So I'm not doing Jake Paul like that. I'm going to say, respect to Jake Paul, because most people wouldn't do what that man did. And, he landed a couple of shots. He landed a pretty good jab. He just wasn't able to sustain or get anything consistent going or really land anything on AJ because Jake Paul wasn't really setting his feet to get the torque behind his shots and land anything on AJ that would have AJ second guessing, walking him down. But Jake Paul had that look on his face, man, like when Curtis Stevens fought Triple G. Triple G hit Curtis Stevens, bing! And Curtis Stevens hit the ground. That's what I have here in this thumbnail. Curtis Stevenson was like, whoa, what was that shit? And that's the same thing happened to Jake Paul. He was like, wow, like the power, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the fight wasn't about belts. The fights was more about spectacle, about money, and I just think risk management. You know what I'm saying? Jake Paul had nothing to lose, everything to gain, and even in a loss, which is what I said, Jake Paul was still going to end up a winner. He did, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't know it would go that far into the fight. But I do think Anthony Joshua carried him a little bit. But the bottom line, Jake Paul gained everything, except for the concentric few haters out there. He did. He went in there with Anthony Joshua. He landed some shots, and he didn't quit. And that's one thing. If he would have got hit the first time and went down and didn't continue, that would have been the worst thing. He went out on his shield. And for that, he gets all the respect in the world. He didn't have to do that. Jake Paul's different, man. I got a lot of respect for that guy, Went in as an underdog with everything to gain, and Joshua just nothing to gain, but he had plenty to lose. But Joshua said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead, man, and I'm going to control the narrative. I'm going to control the dynamic of the fight. I'm going to come out here and do to Jake Paul what Michael Jordan would have done to a rookie who was calling him out. Michael Jordan was in his prime. And that's what he did, is, you know what I'm saying? Take no prisoners. Now, the punch stats, I was trying to pull all that up, but I just think Jake Paul, when you look at the punch stats, there weren't many punches thrown by either guy. As far as power punches thrown, there weren't really a lot of those thrown. It wasn't that action-packed of a fight. It was more suspenseful, just waiting to see if Jake Paul's going to land something big or if when AJ's going to knock him out. As far as the accuracy, Jake Paul's making Anthony Joshua miss horribly. Joshua was just looking lost in there with some of his punches. And as far as defensively, Jake Paul was slipping. Jake Paul did a couple of things pretty damn good to avoid some of AJ's big shots. But the stamina was the problem here. Jake Paul just moved so much, I knew he couldn't keep that up. Ain't no way, man, running around the ring like that is going to be able to sustain that over 8 rounds. And he got tired, man. That's what happens, you know, once you got, I think it was around 6 or something. 5 and 6, you could just see like this isn't looking good for Jake Paul. But as far as what's next, I think Jake Paul's fine. He got a lot of experience, man, from this fight. And Jake Paul, no kidding, is a contender, people. Whether y'all want to say it or not. Jake Paul will whip some people's asses at cruiserweight. I'm telling you he will. He would have beat Badu Jack. A guy like Zerto, I don't know. But I give Jake Paul a good chance against these cats at cruiserweight. I don't know about Apataya and shit and David Benavidez. But I think Jake Paul would be okay. He got a weird kind of jab. He got some power. Accuracy is, you know, could be a little better. But then again, he was fighting a guy that was 6'6.5", weighed in at 240 something, probably came in the ring at 260. It was 80 plus inch reach. He had like a 6 inch reach advantage on Jake. Jake was no way in the world supposed to win that fight. And that's why he didn't. But if Jake gets in there with these guys, which kind of pretty comparable in size, stamina, defense, accuracy, power punches, and jabs, Jake Paul, he'll definitely, man, be in the mix. And he'll have a good chance of winning those fights, man. I just think Jake would show more patience and be more restrained against a guy his size, especially early in the fight, just knowing that the potential for him to fade and also for his opponent to fade. But he doesn't want to fade in there. But against Anthony Joshua, he had to survive. He had to try to survive, man. Early rounds, Jake moved a lot. Mid rounds, 4 to 6, where the fight came to an end. But you just saw that Jake's breathing was changing. The exchanges were kind of becoming one-sided, favoring Joshua. Jake's legs were gone. He kept going down, falling down in the ring. It was ridiculous, man. And he was definitely more reactive than proactive in the mid rounds. And I just think some fear started to set in for Jake Paul, which is normal, man. When you in there and you know you can't win and you can't escape, like he couldn't jump out the ring. He couldn't just run out the ring. I really thought, at one moment, I thought Logan Paul was going to throw a chair in the ring, jump in there and do some WWE shit, and him and Jake Paul were going to double team Anthony Joshua. But it didn't go that route, which I'm glad. But I'm not joking. I really thought that was going to happen. But it is what it is, man. You know, when fatigue sets in, it changes everything. It changes everything in a fight. When you start to get tired, your mind starts to go, your body starts to go, and more than likely, you're just not going to win, man. But Jake got a reality check. You got to respect the sport of boxing, which he does. Respect these guys who've been doing it at the highest level. Got to respect weight classes. And for sure, he got to respect the experience that these guys have over him and stop saying how he knows he'll knock this person out and beat this person. So I think Jake could tone it down now. Because he's been out here doing the business against guys who are, you know, combatants, but just retired beyond their prime. To go in there with someone like AJ, I think Jake Paul got the wake-up call. But I still think he can do the business at cruiserweight. You know what I'm saying? The bottom line is last night, Joshua's experience just took over. Took over, able to be calm, able to think. But Jake showed courage. His courage remains, his heart remains, the respect that some people didn't have for him, they now have for him. It's just his body, his mind and body betrayed him last night. He thought he was gonna be able to go in there and hang, and he just couldn't. So Jake Paul deserves respect. He deserves all the respect in the world. Not just for stepping in the ring. Like Jake Paul really tried to win. No influencer has ever taken this level of risk. None. There's no influencer has done anything like this. Period. Jake Paul deserves respect. Whether y'all want to give it to him or not, man, that's on you. I'm just telling you, I think he does. Just for him being from where he came from and what he did just now. When it ran for an hour this morning, thirsty, man. I drank 2 damn bottles of water already. Ran in them hills, man. Got my ass out here thirsty. But respect for courage. I'll say this. Respect for courage does not equal competitive equality. You know what I'm saying? Just because Jake is respected for his courage doesn't mean that he's going to be able to get in there and compete on the level of an AJ, Wilder, Usyk, So as far as both men, Joshua got an easy payday. No legacy boost, no bragging rights. He avoided embarrassment and little to no upside on the win. For Jake Paul, his profile is just, shit has just exploded. He has legit boxing credibility. If anything, his brand value has increased exponentially, and he won even in defeat. So it was all around a win-win for Jake Paul, and I'm glad that he went there and he held his ground the way he did. I really do. Even though he lost, I like that, man. I think this is one of the bravest mismatches in modern boxing marketing. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, no matter how brave Jake Paul is, bravery doesn't beat size. Bravery doesn't beat experience. Bravery doesn't beat elite level power, and bravery doesn't beat championship composure. And that's just how it is. So Jake started brave, but it ended badly for him, man. Joshua's just a different animal. There's so many guys who don't want to fight AJ. AJ talked about it. But I think Jake Paul, he said everything most people wanted to say but wouldn't. But Anthony Joshua showed everyone what most people know about him but don't want to give him credit for. And that's why there's a real possibility if AJ stays locked in, he could come and take over the heavyweight division again. So you had courage versus reality last night. Yo, man, you got to give respect to Jake and also to Anthony Joshua for going in there and filling in for when Gervonta Davis fell out. With that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. You don't play boxing, you can get your ass hurt in there. Possibly, have your life taken. And Jake Paul, I think he realized that shit last night. Like, yo, let me be careful with what I'm doing before I get hurt badly. That being said, y'all keep cool in the breeze.